Hey everybody, how you guys doing there? As promised, this is Charles here to say hello to you guys. Say hello to Charles.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Charles, first of all, thank you for being here, man. We really appreciate you being here. Charles got into the competition, so we say, through the VRA program. Charles, can you explain it to people here so we know what that means and everything?
So the VRA program is a program for veterans who either have served honorably or retired, and it gives them a chance that even regardless of your age, as long as you're not age of retirement yet, you can still come in. Because I believe that CBP and also Border Patrol, I think their cutoff age is around 33, 35. Well, I'm retired Army, so I'm a little bit older than that. But the VRA gives you still that opportunity. As long as you're physically and mentally fit and you still want to serve, they'll give you a shot. So I'm taking the shot.
Awesome. I like that, Charles. So got to ask you, though, why CBP? Okay, you did your military. You're retired, obviously. Why more? Why CBP? Why you want to do more?
So, I think that things have changed within this country, and the administration now is really serious about security and taking care of our country. And so that's when I felt the need again. It's like, all right, now I have a chance to give back again because I want to continue to serve. And honestly, once you've done, any time in the military, but especially if you did a whole career, when you get out in the civilian world, you never find that same cohesion or esprit de corps that you've ever had before. Yeah. That, when your life is depending on someone else and someone else is depending on your life, that brotherhood or sisterhood that develops, you just don't find that in the regular civilian world or corporate job. And, I had 10 years post-retirement working in the corporate world, and I never found that camaraderie, that esprit de corps. And so I just started, doing some things on my own, started working for myself, but I missed being around people, and I missed working, also taking care of our country. So I decided now's a good time to come back.
That's key, Charles, because in my coaching program, about 18% of people who come to me are from the VRA. And I hear that similar response is that want to belong, esprit de corps. You really, I miss that too, to tell you the truth. I'm also a vet too.
Right.
Not the full 20, but you missed that. So you really missed that sense of belonging, I guess, yeah?
Absolutely.
And one guy I talked to last week, he said he missed the serving something bigger than him. That's right. What you missed too, I think. Is that right, Charles?
It is. It's I think we all need to have a purpose in life, a reason why we do things. Making money is not just the only reason you can do a job. I mean, a lot of people are forced into that and they have to, but I'm blessed. I'm retired. I still have that retirement income coming in. I still want to make a little more, but I also want to contribute. I just don't want to be part of some big corporation whose main focus is how much money can the corporation make.
Because you were exposed to that for 10 years. You saw that.
Right. Yep.
So not everybody knows about CBP. How did Charles find out about CBP? What happened here?
So I remember when President Trump got elected, there was a lot of talk about securing the borders. And so I was like, well, who secures the border? I knew it was Border Patrol. And I honestly did think about doing Border Patrol agent, but I also looked at, my age now physically in my body, even though I'm in shape, I don't know if I can run and gun on a border like a 20 or 30-year-old for sure can. Right. So I was like, well, what else does CBP do? And I was like, oh, they have CBP officers and they work at the ports, the airports and the seaports, and they're responsible, part of customs and immigration. Right. They check, when boats come in, they make sure that, the information matches what's on the manifest matches what's on the containers. Right. And new illegals or drugs are coming into this country. Yeah. I said, you know what, that would be a great job to have where you still get to serve and you still have meaning.
I love that answer. So you still, of course, want to serve as always, but you're more realistic with your, I guess, how old you're, whatever, versus Border Patrol versus CBP. Right. That makes sense to me for sure. So I got to ask you, so when you first did your form to fill out the on the USAGovs.com, were you sure about that? You were sure about to go to this career field? Were you really ready for this career change again?
So I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. I started looking at that and I was like, am I sure? And then somehow I was Googling CBP opportunities, CBP. And then somehow I found you. You came up in a Google search. It was like, what are your videos talking about? What's the difference between CBP and Border Patrol? Yeah. And so I'm like, well, who is this guy? What is this? So I clicked on it and I watched you. And then, that's what kind of led me into your coaching program. And I'll be like, thank God I did. And thank you for everything that you do with the coaching program. Because you talk about it. You're right. the interview that you do with CBP and Border Patrol is not like any civilian interview.
Thank you, man.
And I was a manager in the corporate world. I've done all the situational awareness, not situational awareness, but behavioral questions where they ask you, can you tell us about a time when you had an argument with a coworker? How did it make you feel? What did you do? They don't ask none of that in these interviews. This is all about, hey, you're here, you're doing this, something happens, what are you going to do?
That's right. First of all, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. But yeah, you're right. Whole different situation, right?
Right, completely different.
I tell people that all the time, So we got to ask you, what day was your SI? What day was your interview? What day was that?
It was about, what's today? Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was Monday.
Oh, okay.
Monday, and I found out 24 hours later.
So Sunday night, how did you feel about taking the day before? What were you thinking? What was going on through your mind? Were you Mr. Calm and Cool? Were you kind of worried? What's going on?
So first of all, I got caught up into that, and everyone's talking about it online. You can read it in the Reddit forums about, and you even did a video about it. I did an interview 2 weeks ago, and no one even showed up. And I was like, oh, man, here we go.
Yeah.
And I was still in the coaching program, and I told you about it. You're like, don't worry, it's happening because there's so many applicants.
Right.
So Sunday night, I was kind of like, man, are they going to do this to me again? What if I don't want to get all dressed up, get all prepared, and but luckily I turned it on right at the time it said, and boom, they were there. We was ready to go.
Nice.
I wasn't really too nervous because we had prepared for it, and I already sat through one time of logging in, waiting for the interview. So at this point, I was just like, let's get this done.
Exactly right. You're ready to go, weren't you?
I was.
Let's do it. Exactly. Yeah. Were you okay? So they're there in front of you. Were you nervous at all? Were you calm and cool? What were you? It's just
I think everyone's a little nervous when you're being interviewed. Because you're not sure what to expect. You're not sure what are the kind of questions they're going to ask you. What are the people even like? Are they going to be friendly? Or are they just going to be straight? Hey, what about this kind of seriousness that we have in the military?
Right.
But you did a great job in preparing for both scenarios.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I really appreciate that.
For sure, Charles. So thank you for that too. Yeah, we were a good team. We did some great work with you together.
We did good.
We did. Okay. So Monday was the interview. Tuesday you woke up, or when you found out you passed. Tell me the first three things you did. What happened? You found you passed the SI.
I logged in. I was like, passed. I was like, oh, thank God. Immediately I went and told my wife. She was like, congratulations. She was excited for me. And then I shot you an email like, hey, Mitch, guess what? It really worked.
So happy, man. Yeah, those emails, I got to tell you, to sit here in my chair to get your emails, like, yes, it just felt good, man. To be part of this little part of your process. I'm so happy to be part of that. It's an honor to do that, to be with you as you go along with these awesome, I say, wins you're making, of course, for yourself, right?
Right. So, it is. It's a process, too. It's not just like, you fill out an application and you find out it's like there's a lot of things you have to do to prepare for this. So anyone that's looking forward to this, I'm telling you, it's going to be 6 months to a year probably in a process. It's not going to be like you fill out some paper on USA Jobs and you're hired 6 weeks later. That's not going to happen.
Exactly right, for sure. Now, Charles, you being a VRA candidate, was it anything they told you that's different for you, or anything we should know about that's for a non-VRA candidate as far as applying and stuff like this? Does it matter, or I don't know?
To me, it seemed like the normal process. It was literally you just log into USA Jobs, you fill it out, and there's all these questions like, were you a veteran? Did you, were you retired, or did you get out honorably? And so there was a couple of those questions, but everything else, I believe, was probably straightforward. I don't think there's no difference in the actual process, at least that as far as I could tell, with the exception of it's good to know that, because I was concerned about, what about my age? Are they going to say, hey, this guy's retired. He's over his 30s, over his 40s. Is he still going to be able to, fight the fight?
Right.
But luckily the VRA says, yeah, as long as you're still fit. And so I remember when I took the physical, I was like, this is nothing. And then I took the PT test and I was like, this is nothing. However, I will tell you, it is different because you're doing, they do that step test. That is something that no one practices a step test for 5 minutes. I'm like, what? What is this? Right. So I actually went out and bought a step like 2 weeks prior, and I started practicing. Like, all right, let's try this for 5 minutes so I know how this cadence goes.
That's great advice. You bought a step for yourself? You got great advice. Listen to me. It's really great advice right here. Really?
And there's a YouTube video someone recorded, like, I don't remember what it was. It was either CBP or FBI or something, but there's a video that actually has the metronome so you can hear what it sounds like, the steps, and it's 120 beats per minute. So it's fast. It's
That
not
is
slow.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I hear that from everybody. I don't care, big, small, bodybuilder, runner, whatever. They all say it's a bit of a challenge, you know, to do the stepping. It's a bit of a challenge. So even for you, it was a bit of a challenge,
Yeah,
right?
it was. And I'm glad I actually bought the step and did some practicing because I wanted to make sure that I could do that. I was like, 5 minutes of stepping. I don't know about this. I can go run 3 miles, but I'm not sure about stepping for 5 minutes and 120 beats a minute.
I love that. So Charles, for veterans out there who are watching you right now, I mean, who are thinking about it, you know, because I get veterans sometimes email me, they're thinking about it, right? But can you tell us, man, what would you give us some advice? Like, talk freely about what would you advise vets who think about doing the same thing that you just did?
You know, I think if you still have in your heart that you want to continue to serve your country and you want to belong to an organization that has purpose and meaning, I believe CBP or Border Patrol is definitely a great way to go, especially with the new administration that's come in. There's been a crackdown on dealing with these issues regarding immigration, illegal drugs, and also threats. You know, we live in a world that still has terrorist threats. And so we need to be prepared to deal with that. And, you know, I know that part of the big, beautiful bill, there was a big push to hire, 10, 20,000 more agents. So, you know, I just saw it all as an opportunity. And I think if you want to continue to serve and you're still fit mentally and physically and you want to go, I believe you have a chance.
So I'm looking at you. I'm a vet. Got the military a few years ago. I maybe retired. I don't know. What would you advise be my first step? Just go start the application. What would you advise, Charles? What would you say to do?
You know, I honestly would say go out there. There's a lot of CBP and Border Patrol videos on YouTube that tells you exactly what is their job, what's it like working for them, what's a day in the life. And I probably spent a good few days watching all these videos to make sure that, hey, this sounds like something I want to do.
Okay.
So after you watch the videos and you decide, yeah, I can do this or I want to do this, go ahead and go online and apply. And then if you need to up your PT game, you probably need to do that because everything I've read, it tells you that the academy that you're going to go to, they're going to have a basic training. Of course, it's not going to be as hard as what we went through in the military, but it's still a basic training. And so you're going to have to be fit. You're going to have to be disciplined. You're going to be wearing a uniform. So you get back in that mindset of like, hey, what's it like being in the military versus being, a regular civilian in the corporate world? Because you're not going to be working 9 to 5. You're not going to have weekends off. You're not going to have every holiday off. This is just like being in the military again, because it's a paramilitary organization like you talk about.
Correct.
So I think you need to be in the right mindset. Hey, am I willing to do this again for my country? And if you are, and again, you're ready to do it, I say go for it.
I like that. One thing I noticed with the vets who come to me, they only think Border Patrol. They don't even know about CBP. So in your experience, Charles, did you see more Border Patrol out there online? Did you see any CBP, or was it even, or was one more heavier than the other?
Yeah, I think Border Patrol was definitely heavier. I would say probably a 60-40 split.
Okay.
Because even CBP, when you watch their videos, you're like, are these guys Border Patrol? It's a little different uniform. They're wearing blue and they're not wearing green. But when you realize that they're at the ports and they're not on a border, you start to realize, okay, there is a difference here.
I like what you say about that. Yeah, because even when I started coaching 7 years ago, I was only Border Patrol for the first half year before I started training on CBP, because BP was really the biggest thing out there, So Charles, when you were also in the corporate world, obviously, right? So even you, 10 years in the corporate world, 20 plus years in the military, even you wanted to go back to do something bigger than the corporate world, because you said it was about money.
Right.
Are you saying then the mindset for us too must be it's bigger than us? Is that what you're telling us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go into this thinking you're going to make 6 figures your first year, you're badly mistaken. It's a government job. You can definitely get there from what I see in about 3 to 4 years, but you're not going to start out, even if you were making 6 figures in the corporate world, you're not going to come into the government probably making that right off the bat. So it has to be a purpose driven. It's not about the money.
I'm so glad you said that. You guys don't always see this, but I get comments sometimes about the money on my channel in a very disparaging way. So I always delete those where you guys can see it, because Charles is right. If you're looking for capital or money, you're in the wrong business. This is about something bigger than ourselves, right, Charles?
Absolutely.
You know, and you felt that way. I did. I felt that way in the military too. It's much bigger than you. So Charles, then let me ask you this: for a civilian person, not a military person, any different advice there for them, or what would you say to them for a civilian? I'm like a 22-year-old guy. I'm kind of lost in life, not sure what I'm doing.
Right.
How would you advise him?
You know, I think that there's been a major shift in America ever since COVID.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, for the first time, are started working from home, and some jobs never went back. A lot of people are still working at home,
right?
And so, you know, that was a major shift. And I think that one is, I know when I was stuck working at home, I didn't like it. I don't mind a couple days at home, but I want to be around people I work with so I can communicate, network with them, hang out, you know, build that relationship. I don't want to be just, you know, a computer programmer or a coder head down just on a keyboard 24 hours a day. That's not what I wanted.
Understood.
So I think that, you know, if you're someone who wants to work with people, you want to serve your country, and you're ready to serve your country and understand that, hey, this is not going to be a job. This is going to be more than a job. This is not going to be 9 to 5. You're not going to have every weekend off. You're not going to have every holiday off. But you're going to be serving something bigger than yourself, and you're going to, you know, support our country.
Yes.
And so I think that's a big calling, you know, especially for me being former military. I wanted to continue that service.
I love that. That's an awesome answer. It's a great answer, Charles. So give us a piece of advice from you regarding like preparing for the structured interview. And no, you can't give us questions, of course, but what would you tell us? Give us some advice to prepare for the SI. What would you advise, Charles?
First, I would advise getting a coach.
Yes. Thank you, Charles. Sure.
Like I said, the interview is different. It's not what you're expecting. And so I think you did a good job of preparing people for how the questions are going to be asked.
Thank you.
And I think one of the things that you teach in the coaching that was crucial is you talk about there's an intro, that the way that when you answer it, you're going to intro the answer.
Right.
You're going to answer it, and then possibly you're going to extra or out the answer too with something else.
Correct.
You're kind of like, you're filling in the blanks for them, because it felt to me, and that's another thing I noticed in the corporate world, we always have your resume in front of us and we're going to say, hey, tell us about this job that you did here.
Right.
There was none of that. They came in and told me, hey, you're so-and-so, you know, we are so-and-so, we're here to interview you. We're going to ask you so many questions. Let's get started.
Exactly.
So there was no, you know, tell us about this job that you had before.
Right.
Yeah. So I think you need to be prepared for that. Be professional, you know, and I think one of the things that I did is I also thanked them for their time too, because I know that they're busy.
Correct.
And I thank them for their service. And I you know, I noticed they kind of smiled. They kind of like that, because obviously they're busy. There's so many applicants right now. Right. I'm sure I could clearly tell this was not their full-time job. These are guys that are out working in the field like, hey, we got to do these couple interviews, then we're getting back out here to work.
Exactly.
So, you know, be appreciative and, you know, take it serious, be professional, dress the part too, I think is a key point. You know, don't go in thinking you're just going to wear a polo shirt. Right. You know, you're working for the government. Everyone, they call it suits for a reason. So you want to look professional.
I like that. First of all, thank you for that. The advice. Yeah. And the coaching is really important there too. And, you know, you said something, well, I can't stop thinking about what you said, something bigger than you. You know, even if I wasn't a veteran, I would still want to do that. You know, that's a really good point you said. And I like the point you said about it's not about the money, because you and I both know it's a very money-driven world now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Things are expensive. Things are expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong. You need money. You definitely need money to live in this world. But if that's all you're going after, working for anything in the federal government is probably not the right place for you, or in the military, because you definitely don't join the military, especially starting out making any money.
No, you don't. You really don't. So, Charles, we can't give away your location where you live, but I mean, are there ports around where you are that you want to work at? Do you want to go somewhere away from home, or what do you want to do, sir?
All I'll say is I live in a very sunny state, and I like it. I like it. My weather I have here. Okay. And yes, I am surrounded by water, so I definitely want to be at a port somewhere locally. And yes, so there's airports and there's seaports near me, so I'm hoping I get stationed locally. And also I'm prepared that, hey, that might not happen. It's just like the needs of the government, the needs of the military. We're going to send you where we send you.
Correct.
And so you need to be prepared for that too. What if happens? And honestly, I'm not sure yet. If they tell me, hey, you're not going to stay here, we're going to send you somewhere on the border, even though you're not doing border patrol, but there's going to be ports there. I don't know what I would do yet. So we'll wait and we'll cross that bridge when it gets here.
So you would go where the mission calls you?
I believe I would, but I am married. So that's another thing. The wife's got to be like, hey, you want your family support in this because you're going to be gone. You're going to be working. And if you're not, and if your family's not going to support this, they're not going to understand why you're not home every day at 5 o'clock, why you're not home, why you're working every weekend. Well, how come you're not going to be home for Christmas this year? Right. Because the mission never stops. It's 24/7.
Yes.
Our security, our country doesn't stop. It's always ongoing. So someone's got to be out there on the front line all the time, regardless.
Yes, you got to always stand in the gap. I totally believe that what you say is so true. In fact, Charles, you remember one of my questions was about making sure you check with your family. The family's an important part, and sometimes I get an occasional client who has that husband or wife who's kind of on the fence, and you can't be that way, like you just said, because the hours, there's no holidays in this job. You work, and that's
right.
Right. I mean, that's a really good point. Charles, I want to ask you one last thing about this whole deal for you is that you're taking on this new career change, kind of like, okay, career change. What do you think, though, it's going to be like for you before you even do it? How's it going to make you feel? How will it fulfill you, you think? Will it fulfill your desire to serve the country? Any pros and cons you think right now they're going to happen to you? What do you think, sir?
I think it's definitely going to fulfill that need of continuing to serve my country. Because Border Patrol and CBP literally is the front line. Like you don't come to this country without coming through Border Patrol or CBP.
That's right.
You're either going to cross a border walking in or driving in, or you're going to fly in or coming in a boat. So you're going to meet one of those two, if not both of them at the same time.
That's right.
So we literally are the front lines of defense. Exactly. And so, my military background, I was an airborne paratrooper, so I know what it's like to be on the front lines. And so I'm ready to get back in the game.
God, I love your energy, man. You're this way since day one. So this guy's just full of energy, like a ball of energy. My God, you really are. And I for one can sleep at night knowing you're out there taking care of us. And I'm really happy you're going down this process here. Charles, we do want to ask you though. Can you please keep us in your progressive thoughts, please? We want to keep track of you for sure.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I promise you. Once I go through the whole process, even before I get to the academy, like once I know I'm hired, I'll hit you up then. And then I probably like to do maybe a post-academy thing because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, and I see a lot of people asking questions on Reddit. Here's a tip for you. There's a lot of information about Border Patrol and CBP on Reddit. So
there we go.
If you don't know, get on Reddit, do a search, and you'll find a couple groups that talk about everything about going to the academy, what the day in the life is like. There's a lot of information out there. So get online and go search it out. You'll find it.
He knows his stuff, guys. Take his advice, do what he says, go to Reddit and do that. It's all the questions you might have will most likely be answered there. Correct, Charles?
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Hey, you guys, we do the best we can to make sure we take care of your answers. And Charles gave up some time today to help us out with this whole process. But I got to tell you, Charles, man, it was awesome with you from day one. It's been a great experience with you. I mean, thank you for this. And also, too, Charles, I don't have any veterans I ever interviewed before. So you're my first. And I want to tell you, thank you for that, too. It's a big service for everybody here, vets or not vets. But I never had a vet before. So thank you for that, too, sir. We really appreciate that,
You're welcome. And thank you for your great coaching. And I'll be honest, if you don't get in the coaching program, your videos are still very informative about a day in the life, what the process is going to be like. You can learn a lot just by watching your videos. So thank you for providing that service of, making it public information where people can find out about it.
Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate it, man. It's awesome.
You're welcome.
You guys, if you have comments for Charles down below, please put them in there. He might come around and look at the video and answer some questions for you guys, okay?
There you go. All right.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it. Bye.